to this episode of the podcast, and I am very excited to have one of my favorite clients to come on. So I don't know how much of this we'll be able to publish because some of our conversations ramble a little bit, but we'll see how we go. It's Sinead McHugh, and she is the partner in the film, TV, and media division of Saffery Champnes in Ireland. So welcome, Sinead.
Thanks, Siobhan. I'm very delighted to be here.
Is it weird for you?
A little bit. I'm very used to doing. I mean, I have calls all day, every day, speaking to people, but actually being on a podcast is not something I've done before. So,
well, to be fair, it's only just a chat. I remember when I first met you, I was introduced to you through your office manager, and I was quite nervous going into Saffery's because I hadn't recruited in tax or audit before, but I said I'd go in and see what I could do. And I remember what stood out was that when your nail varnish, she had Sinead had this really bright nail varnish. She does it on today, same as myself. So I was like initially bonded with you over that, and then it was just that it was a real I'm not going to talk badly about other firms, but it was corporate and professional, but it was very friendly and open. And you're a partner in that, I suppose. So we can start off by saying, like, what exactly does that entail, you being a partner?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I've worked with the team within Saffery for 14 years. So I've been working in the film and TV and media industry for that length of time. And there's no doubt, it's a very busy few years in those 14 years for me. I started out just as a recently qualified accountant, progressed pretty quick to assistant manager, then to manager, senior manager, director, and then
how long did that take though?
So, I mean, I've been a partner for 3 years now. So of the 14, it took me 11 years to become a partner. And in those 11 years, I've gone on 3 maternity leaves and had three little babies. So, I suppose 11 years minus that time, it's been a very, very quick process for me. And I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to do some, work with some fantastic people. I've got some great role models who I work alongside now, I suppose. But have always been there to me over the years in terms of mentoring and just guiding me in the right direction, and allowing me the opportunity to kind of do what I do best. And that for me is I'm a big planner, organizer. I lead very well, and I interact with clients really, really good, and I have a very good relationship and build that relationship with them. And I've been allowed to do that by my colleagues. And that has really been able to allow me to show what I can do and what I can bring to the table as such, and the knowledge that I can bring and the expertise. And it's about, I suppose, letting people have the opportunity to do what they feel their strengths are. What my strength is may not be someone else's strength.
Yeah.
And it's trying to figure out what works best for each person. As an accountant,
you would tailor your approach, would you then, to who?
Yeah, I think it's quite important. If I just even take myself, I'm an accountant, I'm a qualified individual, I've got a huge amount of technical expertise, but there are certain technical areas that I don't have a strength in, and so I don't try to do it all. I know what I can do best, and so for our staff, it's about identifying where someone what they can bring to the best of their ability. So obviously the starting point is you want the opportunity for all staff members to do as much as they can to see where they can flourish. But it's quite clear after maybe, a few months that someone is best at doing more of the managing or organizing rather than the direct interaction with the clients. So although you want them to focus on what they can bring to the table and their strengths, it's also quite important to also help them and support them in the areas that they don't feel as confident doing, to try and help them develop those areas as well. So they become essentially like an all-rounder, and they can look after clients, their staff, etc., and do basically what I've been doing for years now.
It's so interesting that you say that, because it touches on a couple of things. Like, it touches on a growth mindset, that when you get somebody in, which, I mean, like, a lot of companies don't really focus on this, but it's not a bad thing. Like, there's not an expectation that you're going to be brilliant at everything, but it's like, so if you point it out, and you give like honest and constructive feedback, that it's like, okay, well, you're not great on this, this is what we can do to support you. So I think that really sets you apart. And then the other thing that I am like always I suppose like piping on about is job crafting. So it's like I hate Excel, right? So I try say that to like a partner in a tax and audit firm. Yeah, but like I hate it. So I try and minimize the amount of stuff that I have to do on Excel, because it's like I'm not going to do an Excel course because I'm not going to craft something that I hate into the role that I'm doing for 40, 50 hours a week. And I think it's interesting that you were saying that there's areas that you're so strong in, and that's like your superpower or your unique selling point. And then so you, like, as a leader, is that what you're saying? Like you encourage then your team to find where their strengths are?
Absolutely. I mean, if I look at the partners in our team, so we have 8 partners between the UK and our Irish office for film and television. And there's, out of those 8 partners, not one person is the same as someone else. So we have someone who's like our technical guru. So he's very technically in terms of all the UK and Irish auditing standards. There's someone that is more triggered towards business development, so going out there and meeting clients and winning that work. There's someone else who's more geared towards a specific area within the industry that we do. And so it's really about, well, what's your strength? Where do you think you can focus on, and building that type of work? Obviously, there's no doubt as a partner, you need to have an overall knowledge of everything. You know, I don't think it's something you can just park it and ignore it and never do it again. But so I'm not saying that. I think it's something that we all have to have knowledge across the board, but there are absolutely areas that we can focus on. And really, you know, for me, that my strengths are, I know what my strengths are. My strengths are dealing with specific clients, doing a lot of advisory and structuring work, and that planning and organizing and scheduling and all that stuff. If I have a very technical question, I know there's someone else who I can go to. You know,
yeah, sometimes it's nowhere to get the information.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
That's why we're a team, though. That's why we're a team, because somewhere along the lines we're all catered for. But it doesn't require one person to cater for everything.
No, and I suppose as well, it's like utilizing the skills of your teammates as well. I know in recruitment, I mean, it's not in every agency, but it can be a bit like Wolves of Wall Street, you know, because it's a sales role, which I didn't know when I started it. I thought I was just helping people, but like it is fundamentally a sales role. So like they would see a candidate or a CV as like 10K. So sometimes like you can be your own worst enemy because you're competing against each other. So I think it's good that you can see strength in somebody else on your team, and it's not a threat. It's like another string to your bow or something else that you can
absolutely
utilize. I wanted to say something to you, because it was really interesting for whoever's going to watch this on YouTube. It was really inspiring to see you as a woman, a partner in a male-dominated field, own your skills, like to say it with not even a blink or, you know, any ounce of apology. I'm really good at this and I'm really strong at this. Were you always like that? Or did you have to learn it? No,
not at all. No. So you're right. I am part of a very male-dominated industry. Film and TV is very male-dominated. And actually, when we joined Saffery, it was very male-dominated as well. And so within our team, I was the first female to become a partner. So that was a huge achievement. And we have another one on board now, so which is great news. But I was very quiet, sheepish, kind of stuck to myself, wasn't very outgoing, definitely not as chatty as I am now. But I have been very, very fortunate with the male partners that I've worked with over the last 14 years, that actually they were very much pushing me forward to be the best at what I can do. And they weren't at all, you know, stopping me or saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. I had their support from day one. And I think it's key having that support person, having that person push you. And I had to find my own feet. I had to find my own voice. But I have, and, you know, I can stand up in front of the room now with all, you know, the males and the females and have my say and put my points across. And it has been difficult, but having said that, I wouldn't change it for the world. I would absolutely do it again. I'm definitely a better person for having pushed myself. I've definitely stood outside my comfort zone. You know, even doing something like this isn't what I'm kind of used to doing. Or certainly don't put me in a room with a podium. I mean, I'll absolutely crash. But you get the strength to do something outside your comfort zone, and you can run with it and be as successful as you want to be.
And what advice would you say? Because I think, you know, I'm the same. Like sometimes it's challenges. Like I wouldn't have done a podcast. I remember in my previous company, I wouldn't have stood up, you know, even at the wraparound meetings. I know, like I do videos on, you know, LinkedIn and speaking at events. What advice, or do you have any specific advice for people? Not even just women, but like anyone who's, you know, a bit stuck, like on how to find your voice. Is it by like taking small steps? That's what I think I did, was like I did it incrementally, you know.
Yeah.
And
I would agree. I think it's small steps. I think you need to, you know, one step forward is better than leaping or jumping too far. And it's about adding something different to what you would have been used to before. Try it. You know, you might not succeed to your full potential doing that little change, but it might give you the confidence to go, okay, do you know what? It was actually quite exciting. I quite enjoyed it. I might do something different or new, and that will just give you that confidence to do something else. I mean, what would be my advice is do something that you really enjoy. I think it's really quite important. And if that means taking a leap of faith and trying to do something different, or changing what you've done for the last 10, 12 years, then do it. Because if you enjoy your job and you enjoy what you do and you enjoy the people that you work with, it makes life a lot easier. You have no problem getting up in the morning, going into the office, or you know, working from home, or whatever that is. But it'll also give you the confidence and spirit to push forward and to be as successful as you want to be.
I feel like that needs to be put on a t-shirt or something.
Oh God.
For someone who's not used to public speaking, that was like really motivational. And there's a couple of things that I want to touch on in relation to that. It's like people have this weird, and I know I did, right? Like I was trying to be a people pleaser for a long time, and was more concerned about what people thought of me, and not even like, not saying they weren't the best people, but they might not have had my best interest at heart. So it was a weird kind of situation to be in. But what I found was that I was afraid of failing, and I was afraid of what people would say. And then over the last 3 years, and you know the situation, like with my previous role and all, my relationship with failure has changed, because it was like, now I expect to fail. You know, I expect it to go wrong, and then I just take the lesson and move on. Like, have you had anything that was like a failure but you failed forward, or do you have like a different type of relationship with mistakes and failure?
I mean, I've had one big, I suppose, matter or issue that has arisen in my career that has really, I suppose, really affected me. I mean, I can't name names from a client's perspective, but it's something that, you know, basically a piece of advice that I gave, and something so tiny and so minor that I absolutely know the answer. I advise it pretty much every day, but I obviously had a blip of a moment and gave, you know, something incorrect advice. And, you know, it did go wrong. And for me, it was devastating, because I had always been very successful in my career and, you know, college and studies, etc. And to then literally fail on one little thing, I mean, it knocked me completely. I was very lucky that I had the support of the partners within Saffery to kind of not pick me up in one way, but also to drive forward the actual issue that was in hand, and to work with me to fix it, essentially. But what I found for me was that, and it affected me for quite some time, because I then worried, was I ever going to be able to give the correct advice? I worried about, no matter what I did, it felt like I was watching myself constantly about, oh, I need to get someone else to prove this or to check it before I gave that advice again. And it's just about building the confidence. You have to put it to the side, any errors or issues that have happened in your career, or any blips as such. And what I suppose you can gain from it is learning the approach to fix it, the approach to pick yourself up. I really watched how the other partners dealt with the situation, and really gained, I suppose, the knowledge that if that happened again, I would know what to do. I would know what was the next step, the first step, the second step, who I'd need to speak to. And it gave you the confidence then to actually feel that, okay, do you know what? If I'm in that situation again, I can sort it out. But it was a big knock. It felt like, you know, your whole confidence was gone. You felt that you were like, in me, it was just like, oh my God, I just got to hand in my notice, because I couldn't cope with the fact that I had done something wrong. And I know that sounds really silly, but that's where my mind was going, that I have to be in a place that I'm always correct, I'm always right. But we all have to realize we're only humans. We can only do the best that we can do. There are areas that we might have a bit of a blip, and so it's about then how you deal with it and how you bring it back to where you need to be.
But I think that you're so diligent, you know, in the sense of like, even with your studies and things, and we had spoken about this previous to the podcast about, like, you know, you do have your hands full in the sense of like 3 kids, you know, made it to partner in 11 years with 3 maternity leaves, and like that is like by putting in the hours, like there's no shortcut to that. So I think that when you hold yourself to such a high standard, and then something like that happens, like you can have a tendency to be harder on yourself
Absolutely.
than other people.
That's exactly it. And I am hard on myself. You know, I want to be the best that I can be. But I also now I'm very much now like, if a mistake is made, or, you know, it's not the way I would have done it, I can now deal with it going, okay, do you know what? I can only do so much. I'm not Superwoman. And I know if I need to, I've got somebody to go to and ask for help or support. And that's key. It's not taking it all on myself and thinking I have to fix everything. You can lean on someone and still be very, very good at your job.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I also think as well, what I've learned is that you can't really control. I mean, like, you can have a duty of care and be as careful as you possibly can. And then if a mistake does make, like, whatever the situation might be, I can't control all of that, but I can know that I can fix it. So no matter what happens, like, I'm not a surgeon, you know, no one's going to die at my, you know, at my mistake or anything like that. So I know that no matter what happens, I have the confidence in myself now to know that, like, it's fixable, it's, you know, manageable, and it's not the end of the world.
But also it's sharing that problem with someone else. So speaking to other people, there's no point in keeping all that inside and not having a conversation with someone else, because, you know, let's say I did something and I don't speak to someone else, I'm thinking the worst. I'm thinking it's the end of the world.
Down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Whereas then I pick up the phone to you, Siobhan, and have the conversation. You're like, well, why don't you try this? Or why don't you try that? And then you know, we can work around it and you can resolve it. It's better to have an open communication with someone than to keep it all inside.
But you know what I think as well, and just from this, like the fact that you can share it at the level that you're at, like that you can share those types of mistakes or feelings, that you can say on one hand, I'm brilliant at this, I'm brilliant at that, but also that, like, you know, this, you had this thing for, I need to be perfect. I think it's indicative of the type of team that you have, that, like, you being vulnerable, and this is one of the things that I wanted to speak to you about in relation to leadership. I think vulnerability is really important. Not that you're like a blubbering mess every time you go into the office, but, you know, to show that, yeah, I do make mistakes and this is what I do. And I think that, like, having that happen to you, even though in the moment when you were like losing, you know, the will to live, writing up your resignation letter, I think that that has, like, I suppose, polished your leadership skills a little bit, because you'll give other people a little bit more grace
that's exactly
in those situations.
You're more inclined to, you've got a better understanding of how someone might feel if they're ever in that situation again. And I suppose that to add on to that is that you also know then the type of support that you need to provide to someone if they're in that situation. Because I was very fortunate to have, you know, a very good male team behind me to help me and support me completely across the board on it. You know, and to this day, I still work with them. And at no point in time is that ever thrown back at me or ever brought up or mentioned. And if I bring it up, they're like, oh, please, can we just stop talking about it? So it doesn't impact your progression. It doesn't impact your career. You know, it's about having the support behind you. It's absolutely about being able to talk about it rather than letting it build up. And what you learn then from it is most important, because we're only human and you can learn from every little bit of work or task that you do. And so that for me is the most important part of it.
Yeah, I remember speaking to my brother when I was going through the thing with my previous company, and I was like, why me? And he said, why not you, firstly?
Yeah.
So that kind of put me back in my box. And then he said to me that my only responsibility out of the whole thing was to strangle the good out of it.
Yeah.
He was like, that's it. He
That's
was
all
like,
you can do.
that's it. He was like, take every single lesson or whatever it would be. And he was like, you just like squeeze it dry. And then when it's done, like you park it. And it was so true. Do you know, it was like,
but if you were in that situation again, you'd know what to do, or you'd know how to feel. Yes, it wouldn't be an ideal situation, but you can deal with it a lot better than you would have done probably the first time.
Oh, 100%. Because I think it was more the shock. You know, it was like hang on, you know, just like completely stunned. And then I couldn't understand how I couldn't cope with it, because I would be very like pragmatic. Like I couldn't understand how like what you were saying, because I didn't speak about it initially. So I wasn't like, I was going down those rabbit holes of what if this, what if that? And it's like, this is helping nobody. So no, 100%. And it's actually made me a better recruiter. So like if I was to go through all of that again, which is a good place to be in, if I was to go through all of that again to get to where I am now, sitting here talking to the partner in the film, TV and media division of Saffery Champnes, I would go through every single thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm happier here. And I mean, like even you, when I spoke to you first and we were talking about tax and audit roles and me offering some support to the company, like I had said to you that I hadn't recruited in that field. And now it's like a whole arm of my business, you know.
And that didn't, you know, by you saying that, you know, right in front of us, the first time we met you, that didn't go, okay, do you know what? She doesn't have the experience that we're looking for. We'll just park it and move forward with someone else. We were like, okay, cool. You know, you understood us, you understood what we were looking for. And we put our trust in you. And it's been very successful. It's been a fantastic working relationship. But you've gone outside your comfort zone. In a way we have as well, because we've trusted somebody that wasn't necessarily within that sector before, and in a way that's what we all need to do. We just need to step outside what we're comfortable with and just try something different and new.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing as well, which seems to be a theme of what we're speaking about and what you said, it's like use your words, like just speak up. And the fact that I was able to say it to you and say, right, I am going to try it, like we'll see what the story is. And it was like, okay, well, we'll, you know, we appreciate the honesty and then we'll move forward.
Well, that's it. It's honesty. That's, I think, key. And also just a very simple conversation. It doesn't require, you know, technical things. It just requires a very simple, this is what I'm looking for. This is the type of people we are. Do you understand that or not? And it's been honest and just very plain conversation.
Yeah, very plain, very plain. I will never publish our WhatsApp conversation. So you've been a partner now for 3 years.
Correct.
You have overcome multiple hurdles. You're a mum of 3. Like, what would you see as next steps for you?
Oh, there's loads of next steps still. So although I'm a partner, I'm a fixed share partner. So for me, next level is equity partner. So that becomes a whole new level.
Explain that for people who are listening.
So fixed share partner is where you are essentially, we've got like multiple partners within Saffery. Fixed share partners have a fixed salary in a year, but you have all the roles and responsibilities as a partner. And so you know what your salary is, you have all the benefits, but you have all the responsibilities, you've got the additional work, etc. To become an equity partner is a whole new level. An equity partner essentially has the decision making within the firm. And so again, we'll have a fixed share, a fixed salary, but then we'll, as equity partner, we'll have access to additional profits from the firm itself. So it's a much bigger role. You get more responsibilities, you've got more decision makings, you've got more voting rights, etc. So for me, I'm not finished yet. I'm, you know,
no, I didn't think you were, to be honest.
I'm pushing forward to make it to that next level of partnership. And you know, from there again, I'll push forward. I'm trying to, obviously I am a unique individual in many ways, but in within what I do as a role as a partner, I'm a partner in our Dublin office, and I'm also a partner in the UK firm. And so for me, I'm one of multiple that focuses on 2 locations. And so it's about getting the reputation in both locations, building myself as a woman in film and television and media, and just progressing my career in terms of building clients, building a better and bigger Dublin office. And yeah, kind of.
It's really exciting. So in relation then to, I mean, because that question wasn't to mean like that you were going to, like, knowing you, like you're not going to say, well, I'm partner now.
I'm sure
But,
my children would prefer if I just, you know, did less.
I'd say they could be, yeah, no, get her out. In relation to though, I mean, like, I think maybe we didn't touch on it enough, but like we were talking about male dominated area, and I don't say that like with any negativity towards the men in the area, because I think that like the fact that you made the inroads that you did was like down in part to their support and the type of culture that was in there, you know. But I suppose for women in like industries that you're in, like, and that are like male dominated, or there's not kind of equal representation, do you did you listen to any of that? Did you think about any of that, or did you just put your head down and do what you needed to do to get ahead?
I didn't listen to any of it. For me, it was just, I really didn't. I have had an amazing role model in my dad. My dad's very, very successful, and he has pushed me. I mean, I was out working when, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, probably when I was 12 or 13, you know, during summer months. And so work has just been always part of what I do, and being successful is part of what I do. So for me, it didn't, I never looked at it as being, oh God, there's only male partners here, I need to be the next female partner. For me, it was just about, no, I need to make it to be a partner. And again, I do think it's down to, as you said, having the amazing support in the partners that I do work alongside. You know, they're very much, it doesn't make a difference, female, males, it doesn't matter at all. It's about the right people and what they can bring to our team. So I didn't. There are women in film and TV teams or sectors within both Ireland and the UK, and they're great. I'm a member of both of them, and they're a fantastic organisation to be part of. You know, you go to a room and you've got these amazing women, and they're from across the entire sector, whether that's from a creative point of view, so, you know, writers, producers, directors, to your production designer, your storyboard artist, or your someone who does the COVID testing, to the accountants, the legals. It's anyone within that industry. And it's great seeing so many women being part of that, and so many successful women as well. But for me, it was just less focus on males versus females, and just be the best person I could be.
And it worked.
Hopefully.
And it's still, no, I think that's really good advice for people, because I think you can believe the narrative, you know, you can start to kind of go, oh, well, like, you know, there's no women there, so I won't be able to. And that's a leader. Like, I saw something on Instagram the other day, it's like, you know, I want to be a leader, but you go first. And you've kind of, I suppose, created your own path, you know, and it's and it's good that you were saying about your dad, that it was that like work ethic that like you'll get out of it what you put in. What was it like when you did you get to tell him that that you became partner?
Oh, I mean, he's been so proud, I suppose, of my journey in my career, and the success that I've had. So it was great telling him that. I mean, he was just super proud. But he has that work ethic. There's no doubt I have gotten that from him. And you know, from him, he was just wants to be the most successful person that he could be. And I have that as well, you know, and it's true. I wouldn't want to let him down, which I know seems silly, because I've seen how hard he's worked, but I want him to be as proud as he should be, and he is. There's no doubt he absolutely is. So he's chuffed. He brags about it to everybody. So
yeah, I know. It's so lovely to see, because I think it's the same thing for me, that like my mum, she was like a single parent, and she didn't get the privilege to work in the career that she wanted to, because she had to like, well, no, she had to. She'd kill me if she heard me saying that. But like, she got to raise me. So she took part-time jobs so she could drop me at school and collect me and do things like that. And it was like, for me to not do the things that I want or go to the places, I thought it would be a disservice to the sacrifices that she'd made. So it was like so nice, like even been able to bring her to America, or living the life for Riley now. Yeah. So it's like, I think it's like, it's a bit of a purpose driven things, that so it's not like just the recruitment or the audit or the tax. It's like, it's a bigger success story, I think, than just
I don't think it doesn't have to be, not everyone has to be as successful as becoming a partner in an accountancy firm. You can be successful in anything that you're doing. That could be making it to a certain level, and no matter what you do, you don't have to get to the top of that level, as long as you're happy and doing what you're doing, and as long as you feel that you've achieved everything that you could achieve or want to achieve, then you should be very proud of yourself.
Well, yeah, no, I do. And I think that everybody's like level, or I suppose not level, but like the way they see success is a little bit different for everybody. So I think that like you have to turn it into something that suits you. Like that was one of the things that we saw at the PA event. In relation to future speaking engagements, you were saying that you gave like some good advice there about like, taking incremental.
Well, thank God you recorded this, because
taking these steps. I'm going to play it back for you, but taking these steps that like take you out of your comfort zone. Dominic, this isn't Dominic, I would slag you anyway, but like you're very eloquent, and you're very, you had said, oh, if I ramble, like you're very like on point with the things that you want to say, and it's very concise. Do you think that you'll try and do some more public speaking in the future, or would you do a LinkedIn live with me?
I mean, I would be open, I suppose. I would never say no. I would certainly be open. I mean, there's no doubt I'd be putting myself out of my comfort zone. I've done it in the past, but I try to limit my exposure. But let's say I won't say no.
Okay, well that's fair. That's what I can take. That I can take off you. And I wanted to say it while we were recording, so it kind of put you in a difficult position to say no, which I really appreciate. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In relation to people who are at the start of their career, what kind of advice would you give them? Because I know that sometimes when you start, like people are like, they don't know where they want to go. There's this like pressure on and especially on younger people now, or even on people who are changing careers. Like, how do you find, or what speaks to you, or like what is your, like people talk about it saying purpose, but I always think that, look, people have to pay their rent and they have to pay their mortgage, so it's great living a purpose driven life, but it's quite
you need the money ultimately. I
need to eat, so like how would you like advise people to maybe like craft the job they want, or
It's there's no doubt it's very, very difficult. I mean, I think it's extremely difficult for school leavers. I mean, who at 17 or 18 knows what they want to do for the rest of their life? And essentially that's what we're being asked to make a decision on. And it's very, very hard. I think for me, it's about, I mean, you need to start at something or to do something. It doesn't mean that what you decide to pick at the age of 18 to 24, that has to be your end career, and that's what all you're going to do. So if you have a passion for something, if you're in a job and you decide, look, I might have an inkling for and a passion to do something else, then maybe do like a part-time course, or attend some, they have trade fairs for various different things now. So go and get a flavor for it and see, maybe that's something you wanted to do. And then I suppose it's deciding whether you want to take the leap of faith and try something different. But I really don't know what is the best thing to do or to say, because it's really, really difficult situation.
Yeah, and it really does depend on the person. I think sometimes, like with the younger generation, I was talking to, I'm not saying that we're like really old, but when I was talking to my cousin, so he had gone to UCD to do a course, and it just wasn't for him. He got like 565 points or something,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
in he missed out on a medical course or something, so he was trying to do something in the sciences, and anyway, he dropped out. Even that phrase isn't good, but like, because it indicates failure or you quitting something. But I was saying to him that I thought it was really brave of him to do it.
Yeah.
You know, that like, why would you spend 4 years of your life at that age to study something that you've absolutely no interest in, to then have a career in it for another 40 years? Like,
Yeah.
you did 9 months, quit it, go traveling. But I think there's a pressure on them, like you said, 17 or 18, what you want to do with the rest of your life. But like, the work has changed. You know, you
Yeah.
can have 2 careers, 3 careers, try different things. um so
You
yeah,
can.
I do think you're right. I think it just depends on the person, and
And I
being
think
open to stuff.
there's like, although, my dad, I would have followed my dad's work ethic. What I would say is a lot of people try to, I suppose, satisfy family members by going into a certain role because their parents do it or whatever. And unless you really enjoy that, you're never going to really find your place unless you have the love for it. And so maybe go outside that comfort zone and do something different, and just enjoy that time and do what you're doing. I mean, similar to my brother, well, whether it was to do with the fun or the lack of wanting to go to college, have attempted 3 different college courses. And after each 3 has decided to go a completely different route, and is now doing really, really well for himself as a tradesman. But it was completely, college or that type of career just didn't suit him.
No.
And he listened eventually to us going, maybe you should try something that is for you, what interests you, and what you like to work with your hands, you like to be outdoors, and so figure out that, rather than, not everyone has to sit in a classroom doing college, or
No.
learning and doing exams. It doesn't suit everybody.
Yeah, no, my other cousin is doing that as well, because everybody was saying to him when he did his leaving ceremony, I mean, like, he didn't even want to do his leaving, but he did it for his mum, passed it, did really well. And then he was like, he wanted to save, get a car, so he worked for a year in Brennan's, like, got promoted. They're trying to keep him, but he's going to start a carpentry apprenticeship. But he was like, and I'm like, it's unusual to see an 18-year-old just so like, no, like, I'm not going to college. I don't want to go to college.
That's cool though. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, but you see, he's one of the lucky ones who knew what he
That's true.
wanted. Whereas like some people are just like, oh, I don't know, I'll just try this. And
it's a very, very difficult decision to make at such a young age. And it works for so many of us that we fall into something that we actually enjoy and are happy to continue doing that as a career. But there are others that I don't feel comfortable in what they're doing, or just don't enjoy it.
There were so many things I liked. I just knew that I couldn't say I was a people person. And I think that's the advice I do if I give career coaching now. It's like, what do you not like? And sometimes that's easier. Like, that will come out. I definitely don't want to do this, or I definitely don't want to do that. I have a question for you, and this will like lead to the end of our podcast episode on the Glasshouse. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this. And what is I'm going to give you an option. What is the best / worst piece of advice you've ever gotten?
I've never gotten. Oh my goodness. You didn't want to give this to me in advance.
No, but I'm thinking it could have been from your dad, it could have been from a partner, it could have been from anyone. So could have been from me.
Let's see. The best advice I've ever gotten is, I was 1 year into joining the film and TV team in London. Literally just recently qualified, and I was a big planner and organizer. I love a good highlight and a good list,
a notebook,
and a notebook. They're all sitting there. They're all nicely neat. And I was told that that's my strength. Without looking at anything else to what I do, accounting or nothing like that. planning and organizing and scheduling is my strength, and to use that to the best of my ability. And that's what I did. I kind of then started using all of these lists and schedules and showing others how to do it. And I know it sounds silly, like everyone knows how to do a list, but I would do like little sessions with the rest of the team as to how I organize my day, how I plan my day. And that then led to actually clients asking me to help them with like structuring their productions, but that requires a few lists and a few highlights, and it actually has made me what I am today. I'm known for the person who can put all the like big scheduling documents together.
Well, it's almost like project management.
Yes, in a way, yeah.
It's not a list. It's like
correct. And I in my mind it's a list, but essentially that's it. And so it's a small little thing. They're like, well, that's what you do, and so you play on that, and you bring that to the best, you know, and use as many color highlighters as you want. You know, don't let anyone put you down, but do use that. And I've actually been really successful with it. And it's not just a list, it's really not, but as in,
no, it's not.
It's about the planning and scheduling and organizing of what I do, being a full-time mom, a full-time job, running a household, running 2 teams. I've got a huge client portfolio, and I can do it all by doing that project managing.
It is project management, though it isn't. No, but that's really good, and I think it is like recognizing that, you know, that's your USP and your superpower. So was this your first podcast?
Yes.
How's it been?
Very nerve-wracking.
Really? Did you not calm down at all anyway into it?
Because I felt because my hands started moving, which means
not at all. No, you were great, and the door is always open for you to come back. Maybe the next one will be face to face or a LinkedIn Live, but I really appreciate your time, and I think people are going to get so much out of it. So
well, no, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for asking me to join it though as well, and delighted to have been able to share some of my thoughts and experiences.
No, you're amazing. Thank you so much.